Oh, Bill, the Ryder here to review the Ultraman Blazar DX Blazar Brace. So this is the main transformation device of Ultraman Blazar. I'm going to keep constantly switching from Blazar to Blazar. I'm probably going to stick with Blazar, even though it's, again, Blazar. But, as you can see him on the left like so, and then the Blazar Brace on the right like so, showing off the LED display and such, to the point it has a third feature now besides it lights up and it makes sounds. I think this one's supposed to be it spins or something. Anyways, here we have the gimmicks of this series. The Blazar stones with Blazar and Zet original. Then we have the top just showing off the display, QR code for the PDF file. Blazar shows you how to use it. Again, it shows in the manual again. They really, I mean, it's at least not like Dawn Brothers. And again, they show you the Blazar brace, or the Blazar stones, and just shows us just summarizes the functionality of the base set, and cautionaries and warnings. So here we have the contents out of the box. Obviously we have the Blazar brace itself, the strap, and the two Blazar stones. So obviously we'll put these off to the side and take a look at the strap first, just because it's the traditional strap we've been getting since the Kirame changer. To which it's interesting that they decided to change into this strap, especially because going after the Taiga Spark being Velcro, which, I mean, it's not too bad. It's a lot more lighter of a material as opposed to the Kira Major wrist holders and such, but it's just it's bare minimum, you can say, at least, because obviously they had to remove the detail and such. And because of that, this one gets into shape, or it stays into shape more, so this one's a lot more harder to reform. But here we have the Blazar brace itself. Now, as you can see right here, you actually have this protective film that you need to remove, but obviously it's like, I think when you get it out of box, it's already opened, but obviously because I closed it, I'll just show you how to remove it, because I did not know this. But you actually need to remove the front clips, or the front covers, because it's kind of like the root gyro where they just simply clip here, and then there's this tab. It's like a small tab to remove this light film, like so. Yes, I did keep this for the sake of demonstrating that and such. And then you want to make sure that you do clip these on correctly, because I think they are spaced to where they are supposed to be, because you can't clip this one to the top and then you can't clip this one to the bottom, because they are spaced differently and such. So you want to clip this in like so, because obviously these things, because of these posts, are held down. Help to keep these spring parts in like so. So here we have the Blazar brace, and it's definitely the most alien looking thing we've had in a while. Just because obviously for the most part, most of our most recent changers, like going back to like the Zet Riser and the Taiga Spark, those are mostly been M78 tech and such, and then like you have like 050 stuff with like the orb ring, the Rube gyros, and obviously the spark lens of the D flasher are reminiscent of what those are based off of. So technically, like the last, like And then like you have like the King of Spark and the Victory Lance that are like artifact base. And then obviously the X Divisor was originally tech from Geo or Zeo, I think they're called. I forgot what they're called. I think they are Geo. But this is like the first one in a while. Like technically the Ancient Spark lens, you can say. But this is our first like really like alien looking like transformation device. That's what I'm trying to get at. To which we have the red paint right here on the right side, and then we have the blue paint on the left side, as it's supposed to represent veins of some sorts. Obviously, as we showed off here, we have the blue clear crystal-like, or I guess technically stone-like cover. And the base of this as a whole is just this just this like really interesting silver plastic. And then like this gap here, this is the activation button. And then obviously this is where the screen's going to be and such. Like, again, if we zoom in, like I think the molding for this is really interesting because it's really spotty and such. Because I think it's supposed to be like a stone, some kind. Also, like I kind of want to point this out because I keep getting it wrong. But I think for some reason, like the trademark's like the trademark is technically upside down, or the trans stamp's technically upside down. But I think it's just because it's in the orientation of like, you know, because you are gonna mostly see it like this. So when you lift it up, it's here. But technically, when you just have it positioned like this, it's upside down. Speaker right here, on and off switch. This is our battery compartment. It requires 3 AAA batteries. Triple A's. And like again, it has a really interesting texture, and I really do like how this is replicated from the upper side and such. But again, I think definitely the spots here are definitely interesting and such. It really helps make it seem more like a stone. Like this entire thing's like a stone and such. And then again, the strap, just stick it in between here. Did I put this in wrong? No, I don't. I think I did. I will put it up to the third. Yeah. So here's me. Here I am with the Blazar Brace. It's definitely an interesting wrist device for sure, but I think they managed to make it to work, especially with how it works. And I think that's supposed to be the whole point of just how unearthly it feels on your wrist. Again, I think I needed to actually make it tighter. It's at least not... like, it at least feels natural on the wrist. I always appreciate that. It feels natural. It doesn't... it's not too heavy. And, like, you know, it doesn't make a nuisance to your wrists and such. So I appreciate that. But other than that... just applying this in like so. The only other detail to point out, this is for you to eject your Blazar stone, as this is where you're going to insert your Blazar stones. As you can see right here, our track system here is the same ones as the same similar one that we've gotten for yokai medals or for yokai watch and such. So moving on from that, here is our obviously gimmick for the series, our Blazar stones. obviously are basically like stone fragments and such. Obviously, people call them Ultraman's equivalents to the Sentai gears, which I guess just because of the side profile. But honestly, like, I think they easily stand out on their own, just because I really do like the base look of the Blazar stones, as the outside is just like, just traditional rock fragments, and like the actual center is like the like actual like important part, such. Again, as we have a side profile of Blazar in a really interesting, I think it's supposed to be like a purplish white, pearlescent purple, outer clear plastic and such. In the back, doesn't really offer much. It just has trans stamps and such. He is B001, and this is the track system for the Blazar Brace. Like was said, these are very reminiscent of the Rouge Souls, or most importantly, the yokai medals and such. And to which, obviously, when you like actually properly point a Blazar stone up, as this is an arrow, you can tell how weird the profile or the Ultraman portrait is, because it's not. You'd expect it to be like this, like the Ultra medals, but it's actually like just at like a slanted angle and such. So I do at least appreciate they are making them different from the Ultra medals. But I guess speaking of the Ultra medals, here is that original. As you can see, I think so. The Ultraman portraits are they're all silver and such, and obviously the outsides are the same mold. Obviously, what's different is the cover and such. As you can see, it's a very vibrant light blue and such, to which some of these do wash out the silver silhouette of the Ultra, but you can see from like Zet, like just how differently orientated he is from Blazar and such. Because again, like as you can see from here, Blazar is like milky, like pearlescent. Like his cover is like a light milky purple, but Zet's just pure blue, like a pure light blue and such. And then again, here's his track, as he is B011. And I think this is supposed to be like Tsuburaya Production Company or something. But yeah, that is basically a look at our stones. So obviously turning on the Blazar brace like so, you get the animation for its activation, and as you can vividly hear, the fan. However, we actually do get sounds before we actually use our Blazar stones. When you press the left button like so, you will get 10 phrases from Gento, the host for Blazar. I'll at least wait for the animation to be done. And I think that's the last one. So obviously, as you can see, the generic animation here is just double helix, or two helixes intercrossing and such. I really do like how much it does come through the cover and such, because we're not going to get this much, because obviously you're going to see all of these animations with the cover open and such. But I do at least appreciate that, like, these phrases are included, just because Blazar was done before they actually start. Like, Blazar's production was like done before they actually aired the show. So I really do like the selection of phrases they have, because obviously it's just Gento introducing himself and telling Scar to like seize forward. I don't know why I chose seize. They have the sound of him, or of the Blazar stone burning him, and then the rest of them is just him commanding Blazar and such. Anyways, to transform into Blazar, we're going to insert the Blazar stone into this slot, like so. Luckily, we got that right away. That's the sound of not being able to read the Blazar stone. So again, to take out the Blazar stone, you want to press this down like so, because it's actually done by friction, as you already seen before. It's just, it's not, this is spring loaded, but this is not being held down by anything. This is stuck in here solely by friction. So again, you want to point the arrow up like so, and align it to the track, and just push it in like so. So obviously the cover splits open, and then you get this animation and the standby sound, and you just simply complete the transformation by pressing the button. And there we have the transformation of Ultraman Blazar, to which I really do like overall. I really do like the people they got to compose the show. I really do like the music they've done, from what I've heard and such. But obviously there we have the animation of Blazar's rise, which is pretty cool. Obviously it's not going to come out properly just due to my camera not being able to match up with the frame rate that the Blazar Brace is going, and I'm glad that it came through properly and such. So Blazar has 4 sounds. I apologize for when my camera does that. So basically, we get 2 grunts, which are just 2 standard grunts for Blazar, and then the other half being for the Spiral Parade, which is his main finisher, which allows him to pull a spear from his Blazar star and throw it at the enemy. So again, just to show actually taking the Blazar stone out, most of the time you're gonna have to do it manually, but sometimes you don't have to. So when we use the Z original stone, as you can hear, this has the sounds from the Z Riser plus Haruki and Z, but with the same animation that we got from when we initially inserted this. So there we basically have the transformation of Z Original from the Memorial Edition and such. And as you can see from there, they did replicate, for the most part, Z's rise in the LCD in the LED screen. That's not what it probably is. The only additional thing they did was making the Z and such. But when it's not, basically the way that these stones are formatted is that the first 2 sounds are going to be just like the grunt and then the attack, and then basically following whatever we got out of when we initially inserted it. So obviously the Zetsuum Coulson carried over from the Hyper Key first, and then the Dimensionizer. Zet is an interesting case where they actually split it between Zet and Haruki, because that's not the case with the majority of these. And as you can see from my Zet stone, he actually just spits out. So my thoughts overall on the base set of the Blazar Brace, I think it's solid for the most part. I think it's fine. It reminds me, I think this, comparison-wise, I think this is a lot more closer to, like, the Rube Gyro. But, like, I think unlike the Rube Gyro, I do like... I think you definitely do get a lot more out of it. Just because... Like, I think by itself, like, even if it was just the Blazar stone, I think you definitely do get a lot more value out of it. I think just getting stuff from the Blazar Brace by itself without the stones is pretty cool, because it's been a while since we've actually had a Ultraman transmission device that has done that. But I think I personally want to, like, I think this is more a fair, I think a more fair comparison for this toy would be the Taiga Spark. Just because, well, the Taiga Spark is technically different, because, like in terms of, like, I think it's just because the Taiga Spark was the last device we've actually got two separate items for. Because obviously we had the Taiga transformation assess, we had the Taiga keychain, and then we had the Orblet and such. So yeah, but obviously, in the case of here, the Zet Stone, just because of the nature of how the Blazar Stones were, the Zet Stone is basically just a bonus with this. But at the same time, it does give us a, it gives us a preview, not preview, it does give us an idea with how, basically, how all the other, basically how the new generation will work within this toy. And obviously it makes sense to pack in Zet just because of his popularity and such. But, like, I think for what the Blazar Stone does is, like, pretty neat overall. It's honestly a lot more than what we've gotten out of, like, recent. Again, going off of, I mean, I want to go off of Decker and Trigger, because at least, like, Decker at least did the bare minimum. At least it gave us a grunt and then a finisher. Trigger just gave us random attacks. You had to get the memorial set to actually have a proper to have those keys work properly. So I appreciate for what is, like, presented so far and such, because I'm glad that we didn't run through the issues that this will have eventually. But, like, I guess that's what I'm just going to dedicate this to now, of just some things to be wary about with the Blazar Brace. Because the only thing that you technically saw is just how sometimes this thing just doesn't want to read certain metals for some reason, or stones. But two other things I want to bring up is just that when you play with this for, or actually technically it's three, when you play with this for an extensive long time, you're gonna be able to smell the motor. So I do suggest to like power this thing off and just let it rest and such, so then you don't start smelling the motor and such. Second thing, speaking of power, for some reason, obviously because of how, I guess, intensive this toy is, this thing will literally start draining your batteries. So in the middle of play, I think you will get about like 20 minutes of play before it starts just killing itself. So again, I suggest for you, turn it off, let it rest, and then, like, go back to it. It's really weird to say that, but you just have to. third one, which I feel like we will get through eventually. For some reason, this toy does have an issue of just sometimes not projecting the animation. It will still spin, but it won't. The LEDs won't light up at all. So sometimes you get the sound of the stone you're playing with, but it won't play the animation. It's a really weird thing that you're gonna run into. But like, again, just go through with it again and such. And this applies to all the animations. It's not for like specifically transformations. This literally could apply to anything you're doing with it. So you can like you'll probably get the animation for like the transformation, but if like you're trying to get the like animation for when you're doing the attacks, it won't. Sometimes it won't play that. But I mean, I think that won't be as impactful, obviously, because all the side animations are just filled in with that helix and such. Because I feel like as of yet, I can't really necessarily talk about the drawbacks for this toy, just because for what's provided, you're not going to notice those drawbacks and such. So I think it's just best for me to hold those back until we actually get to those stones where I can actually properly address the drawbacks of the Blazar Brace. Because so then it's actually more appropriate to do so, because I don't think it's right for me just to spill it all right now, just because because I think as a base set, this is the most solid that we've gotten with an Ultraman device and such. The Blazar Brace is kind of like an unfortunate case of where like the more you buy into it, the more it starts falling apart, or like the toy line starts falling apart. And I don't want to start elaborating on that probably until we finally finish the toy line, or like at least the retail line, where I can finally probably just talk about that. But again, I think for just this set, it's pretty solid and such. The shortcomings are unfortunate, but we'll like properly get to that when we can and such. Because honestly, Bandai did a nice job at like marketing the Blazar Brace and such, despite the fact that none of this was going to be in the show. I think they did a good job at like getting people hooked onto this toy line and such, because it is definitely like obviously I think with how this is like how the LED like treatment is working in this toy, I don't mind it too much, because again it's they took the system they did in Drive but just gave it color basically. But I don't want to touch upon that yet, because I think I've already said it. It's the drawback of that, like basically doing that in color, is that it takes up more power. So you're gonna burn through a lot more batteries than you probably want to. And also, the thing of that is that, the Drive driver ran on AA batteries. This thing runs on AAAs. So we'll touch upon more that when we can. But basically, yeah, if you actually do want to buy into this, then I will say go for it. Like, if you just want the simplest of things or if you just want to have a Blazar Brace to play around with. Because then, obviously, at this point of recording, they have already announced the Memorial Edition, and I think honestly, you're probably better off just getting that one. But again, if you're not a stickler towards, I want X sound, or I want to be able to replicate X moment in this episode, then I think you're just fine. You're probably just fine getting the just traditional DX one. I think they're inexpensive at this point and such. It's just whether or not. I think what I'm trying to get is like technically the only issue is that if you were to get the DX ones, then you're kind of compelled to get the new generation stones, or just getting the main, like getting the stones that actually do things in it, because with everything else, like with with the Memorial Edition, you have the in show, like the in canon stones. You don't have to worry about like, oh great, now I have to deal with Decker in my Memorial Edition Blazar Brace and such. So, like, I mean, like, obviously, I'm going to assume that those stones are still compatible, but, like, for, like, anyone new coming, they don't have to worry about, gosh darn it, gotta get those darn new generation stones that have corrupted the youth, kind of thing, so... yeah.